I was introduced to the folk singer Carrie Newcomer by Brenda Rogers when I was facilitating Evensong, an adult faith formation course, and it must have been, I think, like 15 years ago. Brenda shared Carrie's song, "Holy as the Day is Spent," as part of a spiritual reflection exercise we did in the class. I can't remember the exercise, but I remember the song. And since then, I've followed Carrie's career with great interest, along with several other folks from First Parish. In fact, a group of us went to hear Carrie in concert in Belmont a couple weeks ago. She just released a new album entitled "A Great Wild Mercy." And here is the refrain to that title song. There's a big, wide sky filled with stars that feels so close but feels so far. I'm tired of all the rage, tired of all the worry. I'm ready for a great, wild mercy. I've been captured by that phrase, a great, wild mercy. It resonates with a longing in me. I too am tired of all the rage and all the worry. I'm tired of the violence and the hate and the othering of our fellow human beings over race and gender and class and religion, even over political party. I'm tired of pandemics, environmental crises, and terrible wars that kill thousands of civilians caught in the crossfire. At times, I feel overwhelmed and even hopeless as I ride this out-of-control roller coaster of bad news from around the world. There's no time to catch my breath before the next thing happens. Just over a year ago, our attention was focused on the terrible war in Ukraine. Now we're all focused on Gaza and Israel, but the war in Ukraine hasn't ended. In fact, the fighting is still as fierce as when Russia first invaded. I'd almost forgotten about that terrible fire that engulfed the island of Maui in August, until I read a recent article about it in the New Yorker. But there, it is still being lived with every day, as recovery efforts will take months, if not years. And this is true also for the aftermaths of the floods in Vermont, the wildfires across Canada, and the hot ocean waters off Florida. More than peace, more than justice, I long for mercy, because I don't know that we can achieve peace or justice without experiencing mercy first. In reading and researching for this reflection, I came across an interview that Krista Tippett held on her radio podcast On Being in December of 2020 with the Most Reverend Michael Curry, who's the presiding bishop of the Episcopal Church of the United States, the first Black man to hold this position, and Dr. Russell Moore, who was at the time of the interview the chief ethicist of the Southern Baptist Convention. He resigned in June 2021 in his growing opposition to Trumpism and the convention's cover-up of sexual abuse incidents. Bishop Curry and Dr. Moore, despite being on opposite sides of several political and social issues, had become good friends as they engaged in theological conversations that went deeper. They hoped to be what Tippett called spiritual bridge builders, leaders who could help our country find some common ground. Dr. Moore noted that our political differences have moved beyond political disagreements on issues to a kind of tribalism rooted in identity. He said, "We have put more weight upon these political identities than they can bear. We have a vacuum in American life of meaning and of connection. So some of these questions have become ultimate in ways that aren't just about what we disagree about and how do we go from here, but who's stupid and who's evil and who's not. And that really just completely cuts off the conversation. Are there stupid and evil people? Yes. Sometimes there's a combination of the two. But every conversation ultimately becomes that. Bishop Curry responded later in the interview, I think that's true for us, those who are on the left, who stand for justice and stand for righteousness. You know what? I agree with you. But justice by itself is not enough. Justice without mercy, justice without love, can turn into revenge. And that is not the way of God. That is not the social change we want. That is not something that reflects the kingdom, the reign of God, the beloved community that God dreams for us all. Obviously, Dr. Moore and Bishop Curry are speaking from their Christian faith. But like many Christian progressives to whom Bishop Curry was speaking, we Unitarian Universalists are strong advocates for social justice. If you go to the UUA website, you will see all the justice ministries and causes that our living tradition is involved with, and many in partnership with the Christian left. These issues are all very important, from ending racism and ableism and transphobia and homophobia to advocating for reproductive justice for women, environmental sustainability and repair, and finding a just and equitable peace between Palestinians and Israelis. For many Unitarian Universalists, social justice is the end-all and be-all of our religion. And given that our trust is that it is this life and this earth that matter, and our trust that human beings are instruments for change and for good in the world, I can understand why that is so, and I fully support anyone for whom this is true. And I will confess that social justice on its own is not enough for me. It's not my religion. Certainly the call and the work for social justice matter to me, but they grow out of my faith as a Unitarian Universalist. I am called to participate in building and sustaining the beloved community where all people can find belonging in the full authenticity of their being. That said, my Unitarian Universalist faith serves more than engagement with social justice because my soul needs more. Sometimes I need grace. Sometimes I need comfort, prayer, and belonging. Sometimes I need joy, beauty, and gratitude. Sometimes I need sanctuary, forgiveness, courage. And right now, my soul needs a great, wild mercy. And as I reflect on it, mercy really is at the heart of the Universalist side of our tradition. Universalist theology was a reaction against the Calvinist doctrine of the elect, the belief that all human beings were born sinners and destined for hell, and that God, in God's divine mercy, offered salvation to a few or elect souls who knew that because of their own claimed experience of divine call. I find the Calvinist understanding of mercy to be petty and meager, one grounded in the arbitrariness of divine power. It lacked the generosity of a great wild mercy, one that shines upon everyone like the sun, that covers the earth and laps the shores of our lives like a great ocean, that fills the big wide sky like the stars. The Universalists, on the other hand, believed in God's unconditional love for every single human being. Everyone was going to heaven. Everyone has an inherent worth and dignity that no one can give or take away. Everyone belongs to the beloved community. That's hard. That's hard right now. A great wild mercy that has no use for the big basket of our human failures. Go out into the highways and the byways, wrote Universalist minister Alfred Cole, imagining the fiery sermons of the Universalist founder John Murray. Give the people something of your new vision. Give them not hell, but hope and courage. Do not push them deeper into their theological despair, but preach the kindness and everlasting love of God. That is the generosity of a great wild mercy, a divine love, an elemental love in the universe, a holy belonging of every human being, of every living thing. Imagine for a moment that great wild mercy. Imagine what would happen if we leaned into it, if we trusted it, if we offered it to one another and to the world. Imagine if we received it from one another and the world. Imagine, because maybe it's already there.